I grew up always trying to get my dad's approval. What I always wanted to hear from him was, "Son, I'm proud of you." They're fake. They just want your money. They wanna sell you this image, but at the end they just care about your money. Churches are fake. Whatever. I'm just gonna keep doing myself. Keep getting high and drunk. I don't care. I'll be fine. But at the same time, I knew I was hurting myself even more, drowning myself more in depression. Know your love. God loves you. He wants the best for you. I understand. Everyone has the best situation, or the best childhood, but just know that God has an answer for everything. Before, I would dream about my dad, hurting my family, hurting me. And in my dream, I remember I will hurt my dad, like physically, like fighting him. But after he died, and I try to make things up with God and also with my dad, I remember I had three different dreams.
Thank you, Robert, for talking to us today. It was a blessing. I met you last month, and
Yeah.
just I sense in my heart, the Lord impressed in my heart to ask you. So thank you for being here today, just to
Thank you
share
for
your
inviting me.
testimony. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Robert, take us back to your childhood. Where did you live, and did you know Jesus when you were little?
So we'll start from the very beginning. I was born in 1995, April 4th, to a Catholic family. You know, my grandma, she has always been Catholic, so I remember as a very, very kid, when I was very little, I'm sorry, I remember my grandma will take us to church, to the Catholic church. And I remember seeing, all the people standing up, sitting down, getting on their knees. And I remember as a kid, I will always look around the temple. I will look all the paints that they had, on the glass. Some of the arts that they had was what Jesus went through, when he was crucified and everything. And always, I remember always seeing those pictures, in my hand. Um, Growing up with my family, I don't want to say was the perfect family, but nobody has a perfect family in life. Um, I remember there was always arguments between my family, my mom and my dad every once in a while. My mom, she was a very hardworking woman. She worked really hard to give us a good life to me and my sister. We come from different parents, from different dads. My sister and I. I have my dad who actually passed last year, and my sister who has her biological father who's still alive. My mom, when she was young, she committed many mistakes in life, like everyone else does. So she first had my sister, and that was here in the United States. Actually, she met her dad. She actually fell in love with him. She thought she was gonna create a family with him, but unfortunately things didn't happen as she planned. 9 months went by. She gave birth to my sister, and after probably 4 months after she was born, she moved back to El Salvador. That's when she reunited back with my dad. They used to date before, you know. So she got back with my dad. She got pregnant. She had me. Um, I want to say growing up, my childhood wasn't so the best childhood ever, as I never felt that love coming from my dad. Because most of the time, I always feel rejection. I always felt rejected by my dad. My dad, he never lay a single finger on me, to punish me, but the best way to punish me was to stop talking to me. The cold shoulder. And that could go for weeks, probably months. And as a kid, I was very hurt, to see my dad ignoring me like I don't exist. He would walk by me, wouldn't even see me. And as a kid, I was very hurt, also to see my dad interacting with my cousins instead of interacting with me, that I was his son, you know. And there was many times as a kid I was asking, like, why does he hate me, you know? Why was I even born then if he doesn't love me? And I will cry all the time, and my mom will tell me, like, don't pay attention to him, you know, he's your dad, forgive him, you know. He doesn't know what he's doing. So pretty much I grew up always like forgiving what my dad did to me most of the time, you know. Again, my childhood wasn't the best, you know. On top of that, I kind of suffered from like sexual abuse when I was in school
Mm.
back in fifth grade. You know, that also damaged me a little bit.
Mhm.
Well, a lot, I want to say. You know, and instead of feeling that I had the support from my dad, it was like he wasn't there. You know, instead he was like, "What did you do?" You know, for them to do that to you. You know, I suffered from a lot of bullying back when I was a kid, and that always, you know, destroyed me inside and outside. I felt like I wasn't loved by no one, to a point that I even want to take my own life one time. You know, I said, "What's the point? You know, my dad doesn't love me. Nobody cares about me." Um, I would love going to my grandma's house, you know, because that was the only place where I was feeling loved by my grandparents. And I remember my parents will tell us, like, "Oh, one day all of us, we're gonna move to the United States. You know, we're gonna live as a happy family. We're gonna get a house. We're all gonna live in there. You know, it's gonna be super awesome. It's gonna be great." You know, they picture the best image in my head. You know, growing up, saying that they were gonna move to the U.S. And at the end, it didn't happen. You know, before we even moved, that was around, I want to say, back in 2000, probably 11 or 12. My mom found out that my dad was cheating on her.
Mm.
So when my mom found out my dad was cheating on her, for me was completely, it was so much pain, you know, because I used to look up my dad so much, but then again, my dad, he wasn't the greatest husband or the greatest dad, you know, or the greatest son-in-law, you know. I still remember how my dad used to mistreat my grandma, you know. He will curse on my grandma, and that really hurt me as a kid, you know. It hurt me because I will see my dad mistreating my grandma, you know, and my grandma was the mother of his wife, you know, like. And I will say, to my mom. In my head, I will say, "Mom, why don't you say nothing to dad? You know, he's mistreating your mother. You know, your mom gave birth to you. You're here because of her. You know, how will you allow someone to talk to that way to your mom?" You know, so for me, that was very, very hurtful, very not touchful, but it also hurt me. You know, and he also tried to create some type of hate on us towards her grandma.
Mm.
You know, he will always try to tell me, like, "Oh, your grandma's evil. Your grandma's evil. She's an evil witch." You know, and I will always say, "No, she's not. She's not evil. You know, she's my grandma." I was a kid. Why would you tell that to a kid? You know. Moving forward, my mom caught my dad cheating on her. He tried to apologize to my mom. You know, he swore to God, you know, with the hand on the Bible, he was not gonna do it anymore.
Mm.
And my mom, she believed him. You know, so they first sent my sister to the United States, like at the end of 2012, and by the beginning of 2013, they sent me after. Just so you know, they sent me by myself. There was no adult responsible of me. And that day, you know, I was 17 years old. And just so you know, I'm moving to a country when I don't know the language, you know. So for me, that was something new. I didn't know how to speak English. I didn't understand English. And I remember at the airport in Florida, this person who was supposed to be taking care of me throughout the whole flight, he just walked me out of the plane, and he saw another guy who worked at the airport, and he said, "Hey, he needs to get his luggage. Can you please take him to the pickup area?" He took me to the luggage area so I could get my bags and everything. I remember I turned around and he disappeared. He was gone. So I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting. I finally see my luggage and I grab my bags. And then from that moment, I was like, okay, where do I go? I'm lost. I know how to read, but I can't read in English. I don't understand the language. Where do I go? How do I ask for help? I had no cell phone to call nobody. And again, I always say that I know this was God, sending an angel. This person who was in my flight, because I remember seeing him when I was going into the airplane. I saw him sitting down and he noticed me. He touched my back, he touched my shoulder. He goes, are you okay? And I turn around and I say, I'm lost. Someone was supposed to take care of me, waiting for me, and then they left me. I don't know where to go. I don't know where's the exit. I'm lost. And he asked me, say, where are your parents at? And then my answer was, I'm alone. I'm traveling alone. I have no one with me. I'm by myself. And he asked, do you have it's is anybody picking you up? I say, yeah, my uncle and my sister are picking me up. And he asked me, do they know that you're here already? I said, I'm not sure. I can call them because I don't have reception. I don't have a phone. So he let me borrow his phone. I called my uncle. It was like 5, 6 in the morning in Florida. And I said to him, hey, uh, I'm here, so I'm gonna be waiting for you guys. And I remember he walked me outside the airport, and he just stayed with me. He said, you know what? I'm not gonna go until I see someone picking you up because I don't want to leave you by yourself. He said, I feel like you're my son, and my son is by himself, and I wouldn't like my son to be by himself. He said he was going to an event for doctors, and literally that day he missed 3 buses that were going to the hotel just because he stayed with me. So my uncle came around like almost 7 in the morning. He picked me up. Once he saw that I was being picked up by my uncle, he said, "Okay, take care and God bless you." Those were his words. Ever since I don't know about him. I hope he's still alive. I hope he's doing great in life. And until this day, I'm still thankful about the fact that he stayed with me. He was protecting me. So I moved to my uncle's house in 2013. A month later, they enrolled me to high school. And for me, it was something new again, a different environment. At some point, I was sad, because I was away from my family, away from my old friends, so called. Um, it was everything new for me: the language, the people, everything. So part of me was depressed about that. I say, man, I don't understand nobody in here. Nobody talks to me. I'm not sure if I will ever, be able to learn the language, or how to talk or speak the language. And at some point, I just wanted to give up. Say, what's the point? I should just tell my parents I want to go back. But then in my head, I was also thinking, if I go back, then my dad is gonna be disappointed on me. Because I grew up always trying to get my dad's approvals. And what I always wanted to hear from him was, son, I'm proud of you." Something that never happened, by the way. He never said he was proud of me. He never gave me an accomplishment or anything. As a matter of fact, he will always tell me, like, when will be the day that you will make me proud. So for me, those words were like very hurtful, painful. You know what they say, a punch might hurt, but a word is just gonna stick to you for the rest of your life, and it's gonna scar you forever. So because I didn't want to leave, and I didn't want to make my parents, to be disappointed of me. I remember I joined the marching band. Marching band has always been something that I've always loved, even since I was in El Salvador. I joined the marching band, and I felt so good. I felt happy, and I remember we went at the rehearsal, and they wanted to bring all the parents, to see the marching band and talk about expenses, uniforms, competitions. anything, including food. So I remember the teacher, she gave a budget for everything, the total, and it was a cost of $700.
Mhm.
And I remember when my uncle told me, that was like the most heartbreaking news for me,
Mhm.
because I wanted to be part of the marching band.
Mm.
But unfortunately, because we didn't have the finance for that, I couldn't. So the next day, with my very, very poor English, I remember going to the teacher's classroom to talk to her. And I was like, hey, listen, I won't be able to join the marching band. Unfortunately, I don't live with my parents. My parents are in another country. They barely working, to being able to take care of themselves. I live with my uncles. My uncles are not responsible for me on financial ways. So I won't be able to join the marching band. The teacher looked at me and she say, do you really like the marching band? I say, yes, I loved it. This is always I we wanted to be doing. She said, okay, don't worry. This is between me and you. You're not going to have to pay anything. You can just join the band. Don't worry. You'll be taken care of.
Mm.
So that was one of the greatest news for me. I was so happy and excited. I didn't put a single penny
Mm.
for nothing. And I was blessed that day. I got covered for uniforms, food, transportation, everything, you name it. And that was also what helped me to learn more the language, to learn how to speak English, to interact with people. So time goes by, and in my head, I'm just like going to class, then after school, going to rehearsals, getting back home around 7 p.m., try to do some homework, and then eat some dinner, go to sleep, repeat, things. And it happens when the school year finished, they give me my new schedule for classes and everything. And I noticed that I was taking some senior classes. So I was really curious, and I went to one of the persons that will help you in school, and I asked him, like, so what's going on? And he said, well, yeah, you're taking senior classes, but if you want to graduate, you need to get this many credits. So I remember I did my best, even to recover credits for some classes, and I ended up graduating in 2014.
Mm.
That was one of my greatest moments, and I always wish, in my graduation, I was happy and I was sad at the same time. I was sad because my parents couldn't be there. But I was happy because I was accomplished something that I never thought I was gonna be able to do in life. Come to a different country and graduate from high school. I moved to California after, my mom and my sister were here. That's when depression hit even worse for me. It was so weird for me moving to a different state, and then starting all over again.
When you say depression, you already had depression when you were living when you were younger?
Yeah.
You already experienced.
Yeah.
Was that from because your father, how he treated you when you were
Hmm.
little? Okay.
Yeah, it was because of, well, I would say that was the main thing, and then also for me was like I had already left one part of my family back in El Salvador, and then moved to Florida, and then I now have to move to California, start again all over. That was frustrating for me.
Yeah.
So when I moved to California, I started working also in a fast food restaurant. That was my first job ever, and that's when I start hanging out with the wrong people. Also, you know, I had already had bad introductions, back in Florida, because that's when I started doing drugs back in Florida when I was in high school. I was smoking a lot of pot, and coming to California, it made it even worse for me, because everyone over here was doing the same. So for me, it was so regular that I just kept doing it. Then after that, I just kept moving from another restaurant, but nothing was changing in my life. I was still having the same feeling, depressed. I'm like, man, this is not worth it. This is horrible. This is trash. What am I doing with my life? But I wasn't finding the right answer. Instead, my answer was just keep doing drugs.
Mm.
You will find your answer over there. And yeah, just I got my first kitchen restaurant job, as a cook,
Mm.
and when I started working at the restaurant, it was when I find out how the environment was. You know, that every single person that works in the restaurant, in the kitchen industry, it's either drunk or high. You know, they drown on alcohol or they just get lost in drugs. Um, you know, financially, I was doing a kind of okay, but even though I was making money, I wasn't happy. And my way to escape from all my problems was doing drugs because I thought that was my solution. So how moving forward, I remember for my 21st birthday, that's how I met Ruth. She went to my birthday party. She thought my sister was the only son, the only daughter. You know, they know each other from a long time already. So she introduced me to Ruth, and I remember after that day, I asked her like, "Hey, she's actually pretty, you know." I'm like, "You think I can get her number?" And she gave me Ruth's phone number, and I was so nervous that day. I was like, "Should I text her or no?" So I shoot my shot. You know, I sent her a text. "Hey, this is Robert. You know, Michelle's brother. How you doing?" Next thing I know, I'm like, "Hey, you wanna go watch a movie with me?" You know, just start hanging out with her. Little by little, I start opening myself to Ruth for who I was. You know, there were things that she didn't agree with me, but yet there was something that it kept saying to her like, not stay with him because he's broken and he needs someone to fix him. You know, I remember many times when I was really, really, really high out of my mind, I would just stare at the ceiling and I'll be like, what am I doing? What am I doing? You know, but again, instead of changing or finding a solution, I just kept in the same hole. You know, just keep doing drugs, you know, keep ignoring life, still depressed. Nothing was changing. Work wasn't making me happy. Everyone was toxic. Just so you know, before I was a person who will explode super quick on anger. You know, somebody will tell me the most minimum thing, you know, and I will just start cursing at him, like looking for a fight. You know, and that's what happens inside of the restaurants. You know, people don't see it, but that's what happens. You know, and I didn't like it because I say this is not me. You know, I don't like to be yelled at. But if someone comes at me and trying to attack me, I'm gonna defend myself. You know, at some point I had enough. You know, of the restaurants, and I remember I quit that one day without giving my 2 weeks notice, without talking to anybody. I just quit. You know, again, working at a restaurant, I didn't have the best company that you want to say because after work, what we will do is just drink at the parking lot and just smoke and get high at the parking lot, you know. And that was something that Ruth didn't like it, you know. And she would tell me like, "You need to change, you need to change, you need to change." And I was just like, "Be quiet, let me live my life. I'll do whatever I want. You do you, I do me. You know, don't worry about me. I don't worry about you. You know." Moving forward, I just kept doing the same thing, you know, until like COVID happened. Remember when COVID happened, it was also even so shocking for me, you know, frustrating, depressing. And before COVID happened, I remember that I was trying to make some changes in my life. You know, it was previously we visited two different churches, two or three different churches. But the problem was like the churches that we visited were a little far away from us. And the last one I visited, for me, was more like a show, you know, like a concert. So for me, I was like, man, churches are just, uh, they're fake, you know. They just want your money. They want to sell you this image, but at the end, they just care about your money. Churches are fake, whatever, you know. I'm just gonna keep doing myself, you know, keep getting high and drunk. I don't care. I'll be fine. But at the same time, I knew I was hurting myself even more, drowning myself more in depression, you know, and not finding the answer. One time I remember I said, Ruth, hey, I really want to go to a church, but where can we go? And automatically, just so you know, that came out of me because I know Ruth has been, she grew up in a Christian family. Unfortunately, my family wasn't so Christian because every Sunday after church, we'll go to a restaurant where they serve alcohol, and my parents will be drinking. So I grew up with that thing, seeing like, okay, that's normal. My parents go drink. They have parties on Saturday, they drink. Nothing casual. Anyways, I remember she looked on Yelp for a church, and we found Hillside, and she said, "You wanna give it a try?" I said, "Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it. Let's see how it is." We walk into Hillside, and the energy and the vibe in there felt so different. I felt so warm and welcome in that church. And I remember one of the things that really, really had me like, whoa, this church is different than every single church. I remember one of the associates pastors, he, after worship, he stand, and he was like, welcome everyone to Hillside, this and that. We're gonna collect the offers and tithes, and everything. And he said this: if you do not have money or can give your offer, do not feel forced. You can help us pray, and that's also a blessing for us, and we will bless you back. So when he said that, I'm like, am I hearing things, or did he just say? And I even turned around. I turned around, and I told her, did he just say not to worry about the money? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, huh, interesting. It's a nice church. Service is done. They finish service, and Pastor Sam comes and talked to us, and he started talking to me, and that connection that Pastor Sam and I did, it felt so amazing. Like I felt love. I told my story about how difficult it was growing up with my dad, finding out my dad was cheating on my mom, not only one but three times. And me having to confront my dad, not forgiving him, and especially hating him after finding out what he did to my mom. And all those things that I was collecting, not letting go on the past, it just kept affecting me little by little. But I remember, going out with Pastor Sam and talking to him, and him saying like, "No, you're loved. God loves you. He wants the best for you. I understand. Everyone has the best situation, or the best childhood, but just know that God has an answer for everything." You know, and in my head, I was just like collecting everything little by little, little by little. But what I really liked the most, it was that I was feeling loved by someone. You know, that fatherly love. I know that God is our father. He's the husband of the widows. He's the father of the orphans, whatever. But having another human, to tell me you are loved. I love you, even though we're not blood related. That was such a heartwarming thing. Like it made me feel so good, and it even like got me to tears sometimes. So time goes by. COVID happens. I start kind of losing faith a little bit, but at the same time, not trying not to. And instead of finding more of God or asking God for answers, I went back to doing drugs. And that was when I got even more hard on drugs. To the point that I was I was pretty much killing myself, like slowly without noticing it. I lost so much weight. I remember in my head I was like, man, I look good, but some other people will, for example, my mom, she will see pictures and she will ask me like, "Are you okay?" And I will say to my mom, "Why are you asking that?" She said, "You look sick. You don't look healthy. What's going on? Have you been eating? What are you doing?" My mom knew my situation before that I was consuming drugs. But she never tried to stop me or anything. She was just like, "I'm praying to God that he can help you." Even Ruth, she got concerned about it. She said, "You look sick. Like you're worrying me. What's going on with you?" I said, "No, I'm fine. I don't need you guys give me all of this, when I'm doing good. If I'm doing this, is because it's my way to escape my problems. That's how I seen it before. Like if I get high, it's because I want to get out of reality. I want to ignore you guys. I want to ignore everyone around me and just be myself. Then I start having even more health issues, regarding to my back problems.
Mm.
I had an accident before, but it never took me that bad, for me until the end of 2021. That was when everything started coming all at once. At first was my back, my lower back, a, a, a pain so bad for me, that I couldn't even stand it. I was crying over the pain. That's how painful it was. And I couldn't find an answer. I was like, what? Why is this happening? At some point in my head, thinking, maybe if you keep doing drugs, the pain will go away. No, the pain was even worse when I was doing drugs.
Wow.
So it wasn't even helping. I was just doing it because I was addicted to that.
Mm.
And I thought that was gonna help me with the pain or everything. Um, we go to Florida for the holidays because my mom moved to Florida, and that's when the pain got even worse,
Mm.
to the point I couldn't even walk. If I was sitting down, it was painful.
Mm.
Laying down was painful.
Any movement,
Any movement was so much pain on.
excruciating
Yeah,
pain.
exactly. That I couldn't even understand why. I had to stay in Florida because I didn't think I was gonna make the flight back to LA. And I remember I had to find a doctor who could help me, with therapies and everything. And I stayed there for 2 months, almost 3 months. And during those 2 months, instead of finding, more of God, searching of God, because I was in a place where nobody will care about what was going on. They were just getting high and everything. I was with them, doing the same thing, getting high, you know, ignoring my problems, including my pain. But that wasn't the answer. At some point, I started to develop anxiety because I was away from home. Inside, I knew that Ruth was by herself in LA, working, paying rent, paying the bills, while I was in Florida doing nothing but getting high. So when I got a little better, I told Ruth, I think I'm ready to go back. I can't be here anymore. I love my mom and everything, but I need to be back in my house. I said, I need to be back with you. I need to help you. I need to figure it out a way to help you. Whether if I'm driving around doing food delivery, whatever it is, but I need to find something to do. I come back to LA, maybe 2 weeks, no, maybe 2 weeks or a month later,
Mm.
I start receiving calls from my family in El Salvador. Hey, your dad is dying, you know, but just keep in mind because I had bad experience with my dad before, in the past, him lying and everything.
Mm.
I say maybe he's lying again, he's just trying to get us for money or something. He's not dying, he's just trying to call people's attention. I heard from my cousins that he goes to a surgery because he got really bad. He goes for a surgery. He made it out of the surgery fine and everything. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's not dying. He was just overreacting. He's fine. He's cool. A week later, my cousin calls me again. Hey, your dad is dying.
Mm.
You need to talk to him. And in my head, I was like, why do I have to talk to him? I didn't do nothing to him. I wasn't the one who grew up with all this trauma for 17 years. I wasn't the one who dealt with the rejection, and everything for so much years. Why do I have to talk to him? If he wants to talk to him, if he wants to apologize, for all the things he did, if he's actually dying, he should be the one calling me. And I remember, I went through a hard time. I even had to talk to Ruth's parents, because they're pastors, so they understood my situation. That's why they were like, "We're not gonna judge you because we know how you feel." And I remember I said, "Why do I have to, talk, forgive him and everything?" They were like, "You can forgive him, but that doesn't mean that the relationship is gonna get back to normal. You can forgive him and just keep going with your life." So my dad, he dies on a Saturday, and I remember, um, I didn't cry or anything. I was just still trying to process everything. My sister, because my dad adopted her, she was heartbroken. She started crying. We got to see the funeral, over Zoom and everything. still not crying, not emotions, just serious, just straight face
Mm.
and nothing, no emotions or anything. And in my head, I'm like, am I a bad person right now? Because I remember seeing my sister crying, my cousins crying, um, all my family was crying. But what it hit me the most, I was like, I see my cousins crying like they just lost their father.
Mm.
And I'm sure they're judging me right now because I'm not having the same feelings as they are.
Mm.
I'm not crying. I'm not feeling anything. But little did I know, it was like everything started to hit me probably the next day or the
Mm.
following week. When I start reading all the comments, people when you passed away, and everything. I read this comment from one of his best friends. He said that my dad called him like a week after his birthday because he forgot, but he knew that my dad was dying, and what he was doing, it was just saying goodbye.
Mm.
And that really hurt me because I say, whoa, you rather say goodbye to one of your friends instead of like making things up with your son. So I remember I hated my dad
Mm.
so much, and I was also blaming myself at some point. I said I messed up, I blame myself for his death. It took me maybe a month or two to like get those feelings away from me. Um, I remember when I would go to sleep, the first thing I would see was my dad, just laying down, and he was already dead. And that was traumatizing for me. I cried many times at work, because it was at some point that it just hit me. My dad is gone.
Mm.
And I couldn't make things up with him. And it was a huge, huge process for me. And I remember Ruth told me one day, she said, "You need to change. Enough is enough. You're hurting yourself more. You need to find God. Like actually, you need to surrender yourself." That's when she introduced me to Ed and Amy. Ed and Amy shared with me their testimony,
Mm.
and I remember Edmund will start like talking with me, like sharing things about God and Jesus with me. He was just like giving me therapy, about it. And little by little, I started doing my part of my job, like trying to change, um, forgiving my dad, all the things that he did, letting things go, especially the things in the past,
Yep.
because I will keep bringing them up and all the time. And one of the biggest challenge for me was when she lost her job, because she was by that time when Ruth was, I want to say the breadwinner by then, she was the one who was making the more money. Um, I got a job because I needed to find something to do, but unfortunately, my job, the last job I had, it wasn't paying enough money. So she lost her job. We started to do our, I started to do my part, to seek more from God, surrender, you know, uh, even going to the courts of heaven, to uh, do the right thing. That's when Ruth told me, she said, the Lord wants us to start cleaning. And in my head, I say, do the Lord really want us to do that? I said, are you sure the Lord it's right on what He's saying? And she said, yeah, we gotta do it. And I said, okay, we're gonna obey Him. And for a period of I'm not sure how long. I think probably 3 or 4 months. Excuse me. We were working cleaning. Uh, we were cleaning houses of people who were have idols. Witchcrafts, you name it. And in my head, I was like, nah, I'm not scared of them. They won't hurt me. But at some point, the clients were the scary ones. Because most clients were not happy with the job, and deep inside of me, when clients were getting mad at us or telling us things, I had just to bite my tongue, and say I can't talk back to them because I know the Lord is testing me, is
Mm.
testing my patience. I can't, you know. So I remember I stayed quiet and just keep working on myself. But I think it was by that time when I started having dreams again about my dad. Before I would dream about my dad, hurting my family, hurting me.
Mm.
And in my dream, I remember I will hurt my dad, like physically, like fighting him.
Mm.
But after he died, and I try to make things up with God and also with my dad, I remember I had three different dreams when I've seen my dad, and we were okay with each other. And when I will see my dad in my dreams, I wasn't angry. I was not angry. I will see him, and I was actually happy to see him, something that I never thought it was going to happen. Because in my head, I said, I will always hate this. I will always hate this guy forever. He hurt me. I can forgive him. I can love him or anything. But in that dream, after I let him go and everything, we were both happy. And I remember the last dream I had with him. We were talking, but I don't remember exactly the conversation.
Mm.
The last thing I remember, and it's still really clear in my head, is that me and my dad are looking at each other, and we hug. In my dream we hug. I woke up that day and I woke up crying. And I didn't share nothing. By the way, I didn't share anything,
Mm.
but I knew that was God working in me. Now, when He started working about my physical healing, about my pain, it happened when Amy gave me my first Bible. She gave me my Bible, and I remember that day when that was a Sunday, and I remember that Bible. I put it close by the table, a coffee table
Mhm.
that I have at home, and I was watching TV in the morning, having my breakfast, and for some reason something kept calling me. I was here watching TV like the way I'm looking at you, and the Bible is right there at the table. So for some reason I'm watching TV, and then I look at the Bible, keep watching TV, and then keep looking at the Bible. That was on a Monday. On a Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday comes, and I say, you know what? I'm just gonna listen. I turn off the TV. I grab the Bible. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what should I read. And then I remember, oh, how about if I start reading Proverbs, the daily proverb. So I opened the Bible in Proverbs and I started reading. I read daily proverb, closed the Bible, and that day I was still in pain. Not as much as it was before, but that day I got on my knees and I started praying after I read the Bible. I thank God. I told God, I'm sorry. Please heal my body. Uh, you're the medic of medics. You're the best doctor ever. And I know you can do the miracle in my life, and you will heal me. Thursday, I wake up, no pain. So I was curious. Just keep in mind that I was also abusing heavily on pills too because of the pain, and I didn't want to be feeling any type of pain, so I was taking painkillers all the time. So that day, I remember I woke up and I wasn't feeling pain. I was okay. I did the same thing. I read the Bible in the morning. I did like my little devotional, read the Bible, and I was feeling good. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday goes by. I'm feeling better. I'm not saying anything. Monday, I told Ruth, I said, babe, I need to talk to you. She said, what's going on? I'm like, I didn't want to share this with you because I wasn't sure, but I haven't been feeling pain since Thursday. And she's like, what? Like, yeah. And she said, what happened? And then I tell her, I grabbed the Bible that Amy and Edmund gave me. I read the Bible. I started praying, and for some reason, well, I say not for some reason. I know what was the reason, but I'm not feeling any pain. We were the both of us were so happy. She started crying. And I remember I shared this with Ed and Amy. They were so happy. I shared with Pastor Sam too, and Pastor Sam was like, I want you to share this testimony with church. I shared the testimony with church, and I was feeling really good. But at the same time, I was still feeling a little sad, the fact that I wasn't finding a job, the right job that I wanted. And one of the things Ruth told me while we were cleaning, she said, pray for the job that you want and just pray for it. Pray for it. Like, really pray for it. I said, okay, I'm going to pray for it. And every night before going to sleep, when it was my time to pray, I will say to God, God, please bless me with the different job
Mhm.
on a different environment, an environment where I'm not gonna be cursing at people, I'm not gonna be hating people, when I'm not gonna be involved in drugs or alcohol. I want an environment that it will glorify you, you know. And I just that prayer went for almost a year, you know. And I remember at the almost at the end of 2022, yeah, Ed and Amy, they tell us like, hey, help us pray, you know, for a law firm. We're suffering that we're not getting enough clients. We say, yeah, we'll pray for you guys. We keep praying. Maybe the next week or 2 weeks later, thank you guys for praying for us. You know, we've been receiving a lot of clients. We have another petition. You know, we're looking to get this office space. Can you please pray for us so the Lord can allow us to get this office? I said, yeah, we'll pray for you guys. We prayed and prayed, and I remember when they told us about the good news that they got their place, I was so happy for them. You know, next thing I know, I was just still like, you know, having my doubts. I'm like, am I really gonna get a better job? You know, like doubting God. But then I was like, no, I can't be doubting Him because I know He if He promised me something, He will give it to me. You know. So I kept praying and praying and praying, and I remember I received a text from Edmund saying that they had good news that they wanted to share. You know, and I was like, okay, interesting, cool. And I remember Ruth told me, she said, I'm pretty sure. She said, I'm sure. And she said, look at the day I'm telling you, look at the time. I'm pretty sure Edmund's going to ask you to work for him. And I was like, you think? She said, listen to me and believe in the Lord. You know, and I was hesitating at first. And then Sunday comes by, you know, we go to church, we see Ed and Amy. And after church, because they gave you food over there in Hillside, so we're eating and we gather, you know, together. And he was like, oh yeah, I wanted to share something with you. I say, yeah, what's going on? Because I remember that we got the new office. I said, yeah, I remember. He said, yeah, and we're gonna start hiring more people, you know. And I was gonna look for an assistant, but the Lord talked to me, and He wanted me to hire you as my assistant. And I'm just sitting with my plate, and I'm like, huh? He said, yeah, the Lord he because he said he was looking for someone with the experience as a personal assistant, and he said that the Lord was with a firm and clear voice. He said, no, you're not gonna hire someone professional. He said that the Lord said, you're gonna hire Robert, you're gonna teach him, and you're gonna give him the opportunity to work for you. And he said that he was like, Lord, are you sure? And he said, yes, and you better listen to me, you know. So when he gave me the news, I was like in shock, you know, still not believing what he told me. And then Ruth was just like sitting next to me, like wanted to laugh in my face. She was like, I told you, you know. We get home that day, and she's like, you see, I told you the Lord answered your prayers. You should now you're gonna thank him, you know. But she wasn't mad at me about it. She was just laughing, and in my head I was just like, whoa, did this really just happen, you know? Keep in mind, in order for me to receive all those blessings, I had to put away my past, you know, including my past with drugs. You know, I didn't want to get rid of the things that I used to, you know, to get myself high. And before, when Ruth was fighting with me about that, she will be the one who was like throwing away my things. And because she will do that, I will just, I'm like, okay, you're gonna throw away my stuff. It's fine. I can just go to the shop and buy new ones. You know, you ain't gonna stop me. And I remember she said to me, I'm not in charge of doing that anymore. She said, that's your job between you and the Lord. And one day the Lord told me clearly, he was like, you need to get rid of everything.
Mm.
You know, that was way before I even started working for Edmund. I was working for the cleaning company, by the way. So I remember one day it was nighttime. She was taking a shower, you know, and I was cleaning the kitchen. uh, I opened the kitchen sink and my stuff were in there. I just grab everything, put it in a bag, and I throw it in the dumpster. I was like, if I don't do it today, I'm not gonna do it never. And I was like, I gotta take advantage because tomorrow is trash day, so trash will pick it up. So I throw it away. Same thing. I didn't say nothing until 3 days later. Keep that in mind. We're in the room cleaning up, and I told Ruth, hey, I say, hey, babe, I didn't tell you this, but I got rid of my stuff. And she's like, what stuff? I'm like, all the things that I was using just to get high. She was happy, and everything. In the future, moving forward, that's when I realized that the Lord, He was like, I promise you something, and you obey. Here it is. And ever since I started working for the law firm with Edmund, every morning we do devotionals. We do quiet time. We read this book. It's called Every Man a Warrior. It's 3 books. The first book it's about your relationship with God. Second book is your about your marriage and sex life, and the third one is how to be a better parent and how to manage money. But the first book was very touchy for me, because it was showing me everything. Uh, Even when I first started looking first for God, I remember things got better for me. I wasn't as angry as I used to be. I was calm. I was looking more of God. As a matter of fact, I started listening from God. I was even surprised when God started talking to me ever since I changed my life. I remember I told Ruth, I say, I think God is talking to me. She said she was surprised, because I've never had that experience in my life before hearing from God. And yeah, I was just surprised too, and I was so happy that the way God blessed me and blessed her at the same time to even allow us to get married. Because we planned to get married in 2020, but then again COVID happened, so we couldn't do anything. We stopped our marriage, and we had it on hold until the Lord said enough is enough. You guys, I'm giving you guys this blessing, but you guys need to honor me. And in order for me to honor me, you guys need to get married. You guys are not girlfriend and boyfriend anymore. You guys are one flesh. And because of that, you guys need to be one flesh. So the wedding, it was planned like within a week, so quick. I wasn't expecting that it was gonna be that quick. But again, ever since we've been listening to God, obeying God, thing has changed. Not only spiritually but also financially. That now that we're both able to help ourselves financially in whatever we can. Before we had to like even hold the idea of going out on a weekend to go out for food, or eat outside. Now it's like we have the blessing, afford to go out and eat something. And again, after we got married, things start getting even better. More blessings, challenges, but again, that it happens to everyone. God put challenges in every single one of us in life just to prove our faith. To see if we still have faith in Him, like if we trust Him. So I remember, because since I do devotionals with Edmund in the morning, if I'm not wrong, I think it's Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. And I'm kind of trying to remember what it says, but I remember it says that if you knock the door, it will be answered. If you seek, and you will find. Knock the door. Ask, and you should receive. Seek, you will find. Knock the door, and it will be open. So that gave me so much memories, because I remember we were seeking for God. We were asking God. We were knocking the door, and at the end, He answered to us. So for me was one of the biggest blessing. And not only because He worked on us, but He also has helped me to share how God's been working on me, on my family. My mom and my sister. and because they have seen the change on me, they've been looking more of God, you know. So yeah, one of the Bible verses that really impact me, you know, after I started learning more of God again, is Matthew 7, and it's been so stick to me right now that even on our Monday meetings that we do with our team in the Philippines, I share that Bible verse with them. And my first thoughts were like, guys, we need to start seeking more. Whatever you guys have, like anything that you're going through, like seek more of God. Like you guys are looking for a better place to live, knock that door, you know, keep praying, and he's gonna answer. He's gonna answer you guys, I promise you, you know. And again, you know, in my situation, you know, again, he's been doing the job. Like I said, he's been healing me. I don't feel any pain right now. Thank God, you know, he did the job, he did the healing. Because every morning I will pray saying, God, I know you're the healer. You heal me once, you can do it again. I have my faith in you. I don't want to trust any medicine anymore. And ever since that, you know, I haven't been taking any type of pills. Nothing. Like I used to get prescription medication for pain. I stopped getting that prescription medication. I'm like, I don't need it anymore. God has healed me, you know, and I keep my faith that He will keep healing me. Um, Again, he didn't only heal me physically, but He healed my heart. You know, my relationship with my dad, who's passed. You know, and ever since that, like I say, I don't have any hate on him anymore. I every once in a while I get memories, but I every time I get those memories, I try just to ignore them and be like, and instead I pray to God and I ask Him like, God, take all those bad memories away from me and just bring me the good memories. Even though there's so little, but I rather have the good memories and the fun times, the hilarious time instead of the bad times and the crying times, you know. And now it's like I even try not to bring him up, you know, sometimes because I'm like I don't want my words, you know, to get to him. In fact, I don't know where he is right now, but I rather him rest in peace right now, you know. I don't want my words to again. I don't want my words to get to him, you know. I don't want to keep having those bad memories. And as a matter of fact, I want to have the good memories of my dad, and I want to have my dad as a good person, you know, the person that he couldn't be, you know. And maybe I want to say 2 months ago, I had another dream of my dad. You know, again, we were not fighting. We're we're in peace with each other. You know, and for me, that's great. You know, that's great because I remember I had so much hate for him that you know I used to hate him so much that at some point I ended up looking like him physically. Physically, like you wouldn't believe me, but my dad he had two surgeries. They were kidney surgeries, and he had two scars right here on his stomach. You know, for the surgery. I had so much hate for him. The Without me getting surgery, I had those two scars on my stomach. One day, I'm looking myself in the mirror, and I'm like, "Whoa, I'm sorry, God," you know, because that's my hate imprinted in my body, you know, and I can't. I'm not blaming God, you know, but I know that was me, you know, before because of that. I don't want to say it's a punishment either, you know, but I learned that I shouldn't hate him anymore or judge him anymore. Again, I should just bless him even though he's gone, you know. So yeah, I've been learning a lot lately, and I thank Edmund too, you know, because he's been teaching me a lot, and also I've been able to teach people about God too, you know, or at least to preach them or share my testimony, you know. Even when I got the job working at a law firm, I also shared that testimony at church, um, because again, I wanted to let everyone know to, if they keep their faith, like if they keep praying, they keep asking God, or they keep seeking God, they will get their answer. That's why I mentioned Matthew 7, because that Bible verse really resonated with me. So those were my most crucial things.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your testimony. See how the love of God, the Lord Jesus Christ, the Bible said that by his stripes you were healed. By
Hmm.
his stripes we were healed, that I was healed, that you were healed, that you no longer carry the pain spiritually and physically. And the word of God is so powerful and active in our life. And so hearing your testimony is such a huge blessing for not only for me, but for Alex and for all of us and for those watching your testimony,
Yeah.
because God can do mightily. The word of God said that what's impossible to man is possible to God. And what the enemy meant for bad, the Lord turned it around for good, for his glory. So thank you, Robert, for
Thank you.
talking to us, to
Yeah.
share
Thank you.
beautiful testimony about what the Lord Jesus
Thank you.
had been doing, continue to do, and will.
Yeah.
All glory
I
to
know
God.
there's more blessings, and that's also another thing that I pray for every morning. I always say, God, thank you. First and most, I say thank you, God, for your blessings.
Mhm.
Thank you, God, for the blessings that you gave me in the past, the ones you give me right now, and the ones you have storage for me.
Mhm.
Because I know you have more blessings for me, but I know that in order for me to get those blessings, I have to keep knocking the door, seeking and asking. So that has teach me a lot, and also has teach me, how to be like the head of the house.
Mhm.
Not all, like taking control of my house. Not only financially but spiritually. So every time I pray, I pray over my house, and I say on my prayer, as the head of the home. I I order any spirit, to go away. They don't have enter in my house, because I don't let them. And I always say the only one who's allowed to come in my house is you, God, and Jesus. Other than that, nobody else is allowed to come in my house. And I try to reaffirm that He gave me the duty of being the head of the home. So I try my best, to keep it like that. And I also try, uh, to listen more of God. So yeah, and I would like to say that one of the best things that I will advise everyone, whatever thing that they're going through, whether if it's a relationship or broken heart, broken home. I know it's difficult, but with God, it's not. Nothing is difficult. If you get the time, talk to Him, pray with Him, allow Him to work on you, then you will see the miracle in your life, in your house, in everything that it's around you, including a job. So I know that God will do the miracle for everyone, not only on me, but on everyone else too, that has the opportunity to get the time, to seek Him in reality. So yeah, that's one of my best things to say. And I even said it to the time that I share my testimony at church. I always remind them, like, keep looking for God. He will answer you. Doesn't matter what it doesn't matter for what you're going through right now. But if you look for Him, He will give you the answer.